Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to come up with a quick video today, sort of following up on the media coverage following the recent Paris terrorist attacks. One of the things, as I said in my last video, that I think we would all expect to see is a severe ramping up of the scale of propaganda in the mainstream media, and obviously we have some examples of that here today. So right away, one of the big stories coming up almost in every single newspaper and mainstream media outlet was the canceled soccer match, Germany versus the Netherlands. Obviously, in the rest of the world outside of North America, soccer is, the most widely watched and the most popular sport. So I think that if world governments wanted to make a point to sort of make a show of things and really, really get people to be being aware of an event and to be sort of fearful and turning to their government, I think that having an event like this take place is a very effective way to do that, because here you have the most popular sport, everybody's going to be watching and paying attention. This is obviously going to make them take notice. So this, to me, whether any kind of terror attack is going to happen or not, whether the government story is the correct one or not, I really have no idea. But I find it hard to believe that this kind of thing would just so conveniently happen. So I'd be suspicious of this. It seems more like a sort of a psyop to me, sort of a way for the government to make people think that they're here to be their savior. Now, interestingly, turning to the New York Times, How to Fight ISIS. This was in obviously written by the editorial board here. One of the things that I found interesting is if you scroll down to this article, one of the things that they do, I'm trying to find where it is right here, guys, but they talk about how not necessarily taking, big military action is probably the best way to go. Here we go. So they talk about what sensible and effective further military action, if any, might flow from such a debate is unclear. America must not repeat past errors and commit thousands of troops in a Middle East ground war, as some Republicans are urging. That's interesting to me, guys. This, to me, kind of goes back to the whole false paradigm left-right in America. I think it's clear to people that are watching this channel and other related channels that this is not the kind of thing that is actually realistic to what's going on the ground. Both parties are involved implicitly together. They're using the sort of, false left-right paradigm to distract you and to blame the opposing political party that you happen to align yourself with. If I move forward to the homepage that this article is found on, what they're saying, as it takes some time to load here as always, is military action must be only part of a broader strategy. So clearly, the people in the New York Times writing this for the editorial board, they're appealing to their left-wing audience. They're trying to take a jab at Republicans, but at the same time, make no mistake, they want war, and they're saying that military action is essentially going to be justified and take place no matter what. It's inevitable at this point. This is what they want us to believe. Now, here's a follow-up video, guys, how to talk to children about terrorism. But if I fast forward towards the end, I'll show you guys one part that really kind of made me interested here. Right here, guys. This girl with the glasses, check this out.
C'est énorme de tuer quelqu'un juste pour une petite raison comme ça.
They cannot stay in a bubble.
Pourquoi ils ont attaqué des gens qui n'ont rien fait et pas d'autres? Je comprends pas pourquoi ils nous ont attaqué nous.
Après les attentats de vendredi soir, il y a un groupe qu'on appelle Daesh qui a publié un texte.
When kids want to know, is there going to be another attack? Am I safe? How do you reassure them?
We are not going to reassure them because there can be another attack.
So that's pretty interesting, guys. A number of interesting statements in there. I guess the first thing I wanted to point out was the girl who asked, I just don't understand why they attacked this. Why did they attack somebody who hadn't done anything? Now, for the sake of argument, let's just assume that, quote-unquote, terrorists, ISIS or whatever, did commit this event in Paris the other day. I wonder if this man who's doing this explaining of how to talk to children about terrorism is going to be explaining to these children about the drone strikes that their government are implicitly involved in. Are they going to be talking about France's involvement with NATO wars? Are they going to be talking about the fact that, you know, roughly 200 or so people die in Paris, but yet there are 250,000 dead people in Syria, innocent civilians as well? I don't think they're going to be talking about those things. I don't think they're going to be talking about France's involvement in killing those civilians. And that might be part of the reason why those French children are confused, because they don't understand the real root of the violence. And in another little section of that video right before, there's another girl who says, I don't understand why they are against people who do things like listen to rock and roll. And this kind of goes back to that whole, I think, sort of fallacy that took place in the last decade under Bush, where we were all sort of told that they were the terrorists, the Muslim terrorists, quote unquote, were against us sort of because of our culture, because of our quote unquote freedoms, and music and, women's rights and people being able to do what they want and not following the Quran and not following and adhering to Islam. These are all sort of fallacies used to cover up and mask the fact that our government is committing atrocities, which are actually riling these people up. And not to say in any way that this justifies violence, but it makes a lot more sense than saying that somebody is committing a mass shooting or a mass bombing because your country is putting out rock and roll records. So, getting on to our last link here, U.S. presidential candidates debate whether to accept Syrian refugees. I'm not really going to get into this, guys. I mean, I think this picture is so apropos. I think that's part of the reason why I might have picked this article. But to me, this issue just gets back to the heart of the matter of why did this whole entire conflict begin? Why are we finding ourselves within a humanitarian crisis, within a migrant crisis? I mean, these people might be debating whether or not we should accept Syrian refugees, but nobody seems to be debating whether or not we should be actually committing troops or not. I mean, they might pretend to, but at the end of the day, both parties put troops in there. They pretend like it's inevitable. Obama pretended to be the peace president. He's managed to outdo George Bush. I don't see why any other candidate on the stage would be any different. I mean, it's all just a lie. It's a smokescreen, and at this point, I just think anybody who argues with stuff like that just isn't looking at reality, and they must just be covering for their own team. So, as always, you guys are free to let me know what you think, and we'll talk soon.